Disruption occurs when real changes hit. Politicians, CEOs, they turn around and they said it was a black swan, it was an incalculable event. The reality is that there are almost always traceable external factors that drive the change. The future is more knowable than you imagine if you have the right toolkit. Therefore, disruption is also more monetizable than we imagine. If management best practices keep us at parity, times of change are our opportunity to get ahead of our competition. To be clear, this isn't a resources issue, it's a mindset issue. The winners of COVID aren't just Amazon and Zoom. They're also my friend's family farm. They doubled their sales over COVID, while many of their competitors sank. If you know how to take advantage of disruption, you can win. But first you need to understand, what are these things? What is disruption? If most black swans aren't black swans, what are they? I think that they're what I call rogue waves. On the deep ocean, 100-foot tall walls of water, like this one, they pop up in seconds to sink even the largest ships, when smaller, individually manageable waves collide. And you have about this long to react. This is how disruption actually works. Individually trackable social, economic, and technological trends collide to become unmanageable. And when they do, they upend the playing field, making room for new winners. And that's why in downturns, you see 50% more companies entering the Fortune 100. And that's why I wrote my book, Rogue Waves. It turns out that there are best practices for taking advantage of change. It's based on $15 million of research that we did at HP as we restructured the firm to understand what we can and can't know about the future. Disruption, it turns out, is far more common than we think. Over the 20th century, major business shocks hit the United States about 4 times a year. If you believe that the world's getting more connected, it's moving faster, more rich people are doing more crazy things, we can expect that to increase. We think of rogue waves as an edge case, when actually, really, I think they're the main case. Managers spent nearly half of the 20th century bailing out of them as disruptions collided. The real question to ask is, are you prepared for the rare? Not, are you prepared for the quarter? Are you planning for what's likely instead of whatever the future holds? Here's an example. COVID is a rogue wave. What many leaders missed was that 100-year pandemics, they were just becoming more frequent, and we'd gotten better at containing them. You see, the issue isn't the disease itself. It's the other manageable waves of change that collided with COVID and created a domino effect. So that things that were containable in 2010 suddenly weren't containable in 2021. That's why so few leaders really consider the impact of someone sneezing in Wuhan. If you miscalculate the risk of radical change, it creates a threat. If your competitor does, and it appears that most competitors do, it creates an opportunity. Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing, but expecting different results. That might be true in physics, where the rules remain the same. But if you play in business, the game constantly changes. And if it happens and no one else notices, that's your opportunity for opportunity. If we want to win the future, we need to rethink our relationship with risk. We did so in HP in the years before COVID. It saved money, it increased retention, and resilience to disruption. These things aren't necessarily a cost to your organization. And it helped HP do well in 2020. At the beginning of the year, Carl Icahn and Xerox were trying to take over the company. By the end of the year, as the market for printers, our major industry, shrank 9.4%, HP stayed steady, while Xerox, which appeared to be the better company, the one that could buy us, they had a 69% drop in earnings per share. While we did identify pandemics as a highly dynamic risk, what we were really interested in, what we were really concerned about, was preparing to take advantage of change, no matter what the future held. So what did we do differently? We kept our eye on what I call the second domino. We didn't just focus on change on the pandemic or the natural disaster or the financial implosion. We focused on what happens next. We didn't have a COVID plan. We were pressure testing for the future, whatever it may hold. When designing HP's health diagnostics business, which was just funded before COVID, we looked at two trends: rising healthcare costs and pandemics. One would create a reliable growth curve no matter what happened, and the other would create a hockey stick of interest. What would happen if, instead of avoiding threats, you planned to be overwhelmed and then to take advantage of it? Because you will be, and you'll make better decisions today for tomorrow. We assume that shocks come one at a time. What HP learned this year is that, much like the waves in the deep ocean, they tend to come in threes. What does your company assume will happen next? Do you believe that the next chaos attack will wait for COVID to be over? That leaves you vulnerable to radical change. And it leaves you left out of the next opportunity. When you look at the causes of growth and failure, they break up into four broad buckets: financial, operational, external, and strategic change. It turns out that external and strategic threats were 3 times more likely to cause sustained decreases in firm value, and that managing for reliable results is an almost unattainable goal. Only 0.25% of companies actually do it well over time. Growth is found in these disruptions, not in the stable day-to-day. Ask what combination of pressures would kill you. Innovate your processes there, and then ask your customer where you can provide radical value in times of radical change. Look at their 4 foes as well. If you do that and you innovate for those pain points, you stop solving procurement's problem and you start solving their board's problem. You move from being a tactical partner to being strategic. When a rogue wave hits more armor, it doesn't make you stronger. Nearly everyone capsizes, and the things that create stability hold you down. There's a good reason that you don't see a lot of aircraft carriers on Class 4 rapids. What you really want to do is to flip your kayak faster, to take the market while your competitors are still bailing out from the last rogue wave. That's what Amazon and Zoom did this year, and the same with my friend's family farm. Investment and resilient growth, it's a long-term game, and it delivers superior outcomes over time. So the question to ask is, how do you create value for more years instead of how do you create value this year? So we've just discovered that rogue waves are monetizable, they're forecastable, they're becoming more frequent and creating new winners. Volatility is becoming greater as we move faster, we get more connected, more people have more money and can do crazy things. The rogue waves that these create are going to be the biggest opportunities of the next decade, if you're ready. But if you want to win the future, you need a strategy and you need a process that links resilience and growth, risk management and risk taking. And so how do you start? I think it's with what I call the ABCs of resilient growth. Awareness. Help your people explore the range of possibilities that can happen when knowable changes collide. Behavior. It doesn't matter if your people see the tsunami on the beach if they don't know how to surf the big wave, and you don't want to take up big wave surfing when the big wave hits. In culture. What are the processes? What are the incentives? What's the emotional space that you need to create in your organization to have these discussions and have real hard thinking about the future taken seriously? The good news is that there are best practices, and you don't need to do it alone.